Another galaxy. You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy. You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy. You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you? know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you? know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you? know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy. You know they're out there. You know they're out there. You know they're out there, don't you?
Bonjour et bienvenue au Cas de SIO. Préférez-vous les instructions en français? We prefer instructions in English. English, please.
English, please.
Each team has 20 minutes to present its case to the judges. The time is indicated on the timer as a countdown. In case of a problem, I will indicate the remaining time with posters. I will indicate it with posters even if there's some problem. If you do not end your presentation after 20 minutes, it will be stopped to move on to the period of questions. A period of questions of a maximum duration of 5 minutes is assigned to the jury at the end of the presentation. I would like to remind the jury that it is mandatory to ask at least one question during this period. Please note that you cannot reveal the name or city of your university, as you may be disqualified. I would like to ask the public to turn off their cell phone. I will now invite the judges to introduce themselves. Je vais maintenant laisser les juges se présenter et ensuite vous pourrez débuter votre présentation. Afterwards, you may begin your presentation.
Bonjour, Vincent Thériault, cofondateur de Sur Mesure.
Hi, my name is Eric. I'm the IT director at Sur Mesure.
Bonjour, Camille Barry, je suis directrice marketing chez Sur Mesure.
Guy Rochette, vice-président des services d'infrastructure au Centre des services partagés du Québec.
You may begin.
So, good morning, bienvenue tout le monde. Today, alongside my colleagues Anne-Sophie and Florian, my name is Chris. Today we will be presenting to you our strategy for Sur Mesure. So, where is Sur Mesure today? Well, Sur Mesure has a very favorable positioning in terms of where it lies on the scale from price and consumer experience. So, today, Sur Mesure is right here. It offers affordable suits at a relatively customized experience for its consumers. But what do we want to do with it today? Well, we noticed that you actually have a very good back-end technology suite. So alongside these 8 technologies, we think that we can utilize them and really move Sur Mesure up the scale for consumer experience, while still keeping affordable prices and a relatively competitive positioning with high price versus low price companies. So, meet Eric. So, what is Eric's process today? Well, Eric first gets a welcome email, an onboarding email. Later on, Eric gets his purchase invoice, so he orders his suit. Later on, he gets a customer satisfaction survey, which is then inputted into our backend technology. Later on, there is the fabric design stage where there's any conflicting fabric designs. Then the delivery status, the parcel is then delivered in store where Eric can go and pick it up. And then if there are any remaining alterations to be done in store, he gets one more fitting. And then that is the end of the consumer cycle for Eric. Okay? And then this cycle restarts when Eric wants to purchase another suit. Well, today, what we really want to do is get you from the positioning we mentioned beforehand up there by altering and bringing a couple of modifications to this life cycle for the consumers. So I will now pass it on to my colleagues.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. So our strategy is called the refitted strategy. And by implementing our refitted strategy, Sur Mesure will be able to increase customer retention through building long-lasting relationships, all while giving your suits a second life and ensuring a CLV, or customer lifetime value, of 47%. That's an increase of 47%, and increased repeat purchases within store and online of 45%. How we are going to be able to implement this refitted strategy is pretty vast. We are going to be touching upon many, many aspects found within the customer experience online and in store, altering slightly the lifetime value and altering slightly how the consumer really has an experience of purchasing a suit at sur mesure, making sure that we elevate that experience and we really bring it to the next level. So we spent quite a few minutes brainstorming, and we were deciding what we wanted to do and what we wanted to touch upon. We then decided to draw out some decision criteria, or some key points that we really wanted to focus on and make sure that we target our strategies correctly. The first one was the cost of the initial investment, and we wanted to keep that on the lower side, and software change as well. As my colleague Christopher mentioned, you do already have a very broad suite ahead of you in technology, so we really wanted to leverage what you already had. Then, obviously, we wanted to target the creativity, taking initiative, and having fun vibe that Sur Mesure offers to its clients and to its employees within the company. So we were talking about customization and how to make the company more sustainable. We even touched upon inventory management and how we can alter that, and even develop a couple marketing strategies. As you can see by a decision matrix, the two ideas that we really stuck with and we're going to dive into more are customization and sustainability, and how we can really target that and bring Sur Mesure to the next level. So that's when we dive into our first part of our recommendation, our onboarding survey, and how we can tailor an experience of purchasing a suit to the consumer. This all starts with your website, and when your consumer first purchases his first suit with you. The welcome page on your website is an ideal platform where you can pull a lot of information from your consumer. So right away, giving the consumer the option to either continue to the store or log in and really create a tailored experience, creating its client profile right away. What's great about this strategy is you already have Typeform, MailChimp, and your studio on your website that can easily incorporate this idea. Now let's say I'm Eric, this is my first time purchasing a suit, and I decide to log in and create a tailored experience. How we are going to create that is by automatically giving a short survey that consumers will have to answer, which will take less than a minute to do. First off, what do you use your suit for? Is it every day? Do you go to the office? Do you want it for a special event? What price range are you comfortable spending? So this right away can measure how much a consumer is willing to spend. What are your favorite colors? What are your favorite textures? What's comfortable for you? And do you know your size? A lot of consumers don't, and we really want to be able to tailor to the specific consumer, especially if it's during their first time, or it's their first time online or visiting you in store. Again, Typeform, MailChimp, and Studio are all ways to really integrate and hone this in. All right, this is when we dive into the next part of our strategy, our consultations, and my colleague Florian is going to further on into that.
Yeah, thank you, Anso. And so the basic idea that Christopher was talking about in terms of changing our positioning from going into more personalized relationships with the clients, and this is what this part is focusing on. So the idea that a lot of companies, for example Netflix, are giving recommendations that are automated, right? On your homepage, once you log in, you have recommendation movies and et cetera, et cetera. What we want is to move away from these impersonalized recommendations and move to a more human experience. And what do we mean by that? So currently, your company already has consultants that help customers choose and recommend suits as well as accessories. What we want to do is help Eric, who, for example, really loves spending time and really trusts the opinion of Jeremy to pick him a suit, be available every single time. And so we have the online consultation scheduling table that we have, and say, okay, Eric wants to book Jeremy on Thursday from 2:40 p.m. to 3 o'clock, and then he can put that in, and to really increase that experience. And the next part also deals with utilizing G Suite to book consultations online. And so we want to look at the next part as well. Again, we're trying to foster relationships, right? We're trying to encourage customers to continue buying suits at your company. And so what we're trying to do is the 40-day sweet spot, that's what we call it. And essentially is, let's say Eric buys a really nice navy suit at Sur Mesure, okay? He has 40 days to then buy another set of accessories, and we'll dive into this during the financials, how that impacts Sur Mesure's financials and profitability. But essentially, to have them buy a lot of accessories, for example, ties, pocket squares, extra shirts, at a significant discount of around 33%. And so we're going to dive later into the profitability.
Yes, so shipping your look. So currently the process stands that the suit is shipped to the store, and then Eric would have to come in store for their last fitting. So what we really want to do here is kind of limit or shorten the period of final delivery of the suit, let's say to Eric, and offer the option to ship to Eric directly at his home or at his office space. Now, we understand that that last fitting might be useful for, let's say, any last tapering that has to be done on the suit, but what if there doesn't have to be any tapering done to the suit? That means Eric would have to come into the store to pick up the suit for no reason. We can avoid this by easily shipping it to them and then giving him the option to book a consultation appointment for free or whatever the cost currently includes to come in store and get his last tailoring done. What this does is really helps you shorten the time from final delivery from the suit to Eric. And how do we do this? Well, as you may have noticed, we have these circles at the end of each of our slides that help you identify what IS system you already have in place that could help you do this. And this is done primarily with Studio.
All right, so now that we've touched upon how to make the consumer experience much more customizable, we were curious on how we can make Sur Mesure's processes more sustainable and how we can give back not only to the environment, but also to consumers, all while reaching out to new consumers, consumers that are walking in the doors of your store for the very first time. How are we going to do that? For example, I have Florian and Christopher in front of me right now. They're wearing greatly fitted suits, but they're going to wear these suits for a couple more years and then they're going to get a little bit faded away. Now let's say Florian and Chris purchased these suits within Sur Mesure. As Sur Mesure suits are made with excellent quality, the quality of the suits is fine, but Florian and Chris have seen these suits for many days now, they've worn them a couple times and they want to switch it up a little. So as loyal consumers from Sur Mesure, Florian and Chris can just walk into the store and be like, I purchased this product 3 years ago, it's still in good quality, but I don't want to wear it anymore, I don't know what to do with it. Instead of throwing it away and unfortunately losing all the life of the suit, Florian and Christopher can give the suit a new life. In other words, Sur Mesure takes in the suit, does a little alterations that are needed. A button fell off, there's a little cuffing on the sleeve or on the pant of a suit, or it needs a little bit of tailoring, and it's a normal wear and tear of a suit. Sur Mesure takes this in, does the couple alterations in the store that they would normally offer to their their loyal consumers, and then hang them up for sale once again. This not only gives a second life to the suit, but younger consumers or consumers that are looking to save a little money on their suit could purchase a used suit, similar to purchasing a cell phone again or purchasing a used car, all while ensuring a great quality of product that is ensured within Sur Mesure, and reaching out to new consumer profile. Now, Florian and Chris are both finance students and are looking for suits because they're going through interviews and they need something that is quick and versatile, that doesn't need a lot of adjustments, and that won't hurt their wallet. That's exactly where this comes into play. So there's also a huge advantage point to the loyal consumer who brought in the suit. By bringing in an old Sur Mesure suit, that consumer will receive a 33% discount on their next purchase. This purchase can be done online or in store and covers all products under Sur Mesure. Now, Florian will go on and explain how that 33% is a very valid number and where it comes from and how it actually benefits the financials at the end of the day.
Before that, let's dive into the implementation real quick. So we today recommended 5 different strategies. The implementation time for this is quite relatively low because they are primarily based on software systems you currently have in place and marketing policies that we can modify quite quickly. So in terms of priority of what we decided would be relatively quick to implement and what would be easy to implement, we decided that in terms of a priority queue, let's say, we felt that a 40-day discount and discount rates on recycled suits are pretty relatively easy to implement as it is a policy change. And then primarily IS changes would be the onboarding survey on the website, the booking the consultation online via vSuite plugin on your website, and then the ship to home or office would require more IS changes, but all the while still remaining low because you don't have to actually change any of your office suites that you currently hold. And now I will pass it on to Gloria to go into the financials.
All right, so for the moment you've all been waiting for it. Before we dive into it, let's clarify some assumptions that we had. So in the information provided, there weren't numbers on the suit's cost, etc., so we had to make a few assumptions. We're assuming that a manufacturing cost for any item, so a suit, a shirt, etc., is going to be about 1/3 of its cost. And we're assuming that each suit costs about $600. So let's walk you through the first sale of the suit. So at the top, we have the original purchase, right? And so Eric walks into the store, talks to Jeremy, recommends him a really nice gray suit. He buys it for $600. Now we're going to incur the cost of this suit as a cost of goods sold of about 1/3 of its cost, $200. And remember, now he wants extra accessories, right? So we're going to give him the 40-day discount that he has. And so that's going to be a provision for an accessory discount of 50, right? So we see how this is rolling over. We're selling a bundle of accessories for $150 minus the 50, so we're selling it for $100. So here we made a total revenue of $700, incurred $200 of a loss on the discount, as well as another 50. Now, had it been the original one, had it been Eric just walking in and buying a suit for $600 and buying an extra set of accessories, you would have made a profit of $500, right? Minus the cost of goods sold. Now, what this strategy helps us implement is that not only is this helping us have one cycle of sales, a second cycle of sales, but also a third one. So the second cycle of sales goes in. Jeremy, let's say 6 months later, 8 months later, he finally got his job at Goldman Sachs, and now he has to wear a brand new suit. Comes into the store, returns the gray suit, and receives a discount on the new suit that he's buying. And so instead of buying it for $600, he buys it for $400, right? And now what SIO has is an extra inventory of a used suit that all you have to do is fix it a little bit, and now you can sell it. So we're not incurring extra cost of manufacturing anymore. So you sell it you go on any campus or to a university, and you say, okay, here's a set of suit. You could buy it for a lot cheaper, right? And so we're selling that suit for $300, half the price. And so now students are much more incentivized to purchase that type of product. And going into it anyway, do all the calculation, and then you would have a profit of $970. So now, the difference is what we like to highlight is that the original strategy allows you to have profit of $500 and sell one suit, as well as a set of accessories. The new strategy allows you to sell 2 suits, or technically 3, but only having manufacturing cost of 2, as well as 3 sets of accessories on top of it. And so in terms of return purchases, we're looking at roughly 45% of people coming back in and buying that second suit and so on and so forth. And that's going to roughly increase the customer lifetime value by 47%. Note that this value also takes into account the fact that we're taking in new customers, right, the new students. And hopefully in the future, we could talk about this a little bit later as well, looking at other sources of not only students, but selling cheaper suits to other target markets as well. The NPV, we could walk that through during the Q&A if you guys want to look at the model. We're expecting about 11 million, but please keep in mind that these are based on assumptions in the numbers that we talked about earlier. And this is roughly going to show a profit margin increase of 94% per round of sales. So what we looked at in the previous slide, going from $500 to $970 in terms of profit.
So, to round off our presentation, I'd like to just highlight some of the different strategies we took and what are the different criteria we touched upon today. So we really started with what SIO already has in place. The core idea of our strategy was to keep in place the information systems that you have and implement new strategies utilizing the data you have, and to really change the customer experience and to add on to the perfect fitting strategy that you already have in place. So this touches upon customization. The second, sustainability. We touched upon sustainability today because actually fashion is one of the most detrimental industries to the environment, and we really want to help the environment. as millennials, as one would assume. So what we did today is really take on a different strategy for sustainability, all while looking at the impact for the financial statements and actually increasing profit in the long run. And finally, well, we touched upon this as well as customization, but a core idea was little to no change in information system structure. So you don't actually incur an initial cost of that much. You also don't incur a lot of training costs that would come in hand to hand with a strategy that would force you to, say, adopt Power BI or adopt different softwares. Merci, thank you.
On va donc maintenant commencer la période des questions.
You guys talked about Netflix and how Netflix suggests movies or TV series. That's something you talked about here, but you didn't say how we would do it at Sur Mesure. Do you have an idea of how this would actually
Yeah, so the idea was within the scope of our strategy, we wanted to keep it more personalized as well as more human, and also moving away from things that are going to have Sur Mesure implement new technologies. We wanted to keep it the way it is and leverage as much as we can, so incur less fixed costs. But if we were to include such technology to automate recommendations based on customer profiles, so if you have brown hair, you're 33 years old, et cetera, we would recommend using Power BI, which is it's a tool offered by Microsoft in order to automate business intelligence. And that would kind of enforce that Netflix vibe to it. And online, you can see, okay, here's your recommended profile based on your purchase history and your sizes, et cetera, et cetera.
And so it would be suggested online on the website.
Yeah, as well as we would also keep tabs of the customers, right? Let's say Eric went to see Jeremy, and Jeremy, like, he could obviously look at his profile and say, this is the type of thing that that Eric really likes. That could be something that we leverage, but we kind of removed that from the scope because we wanted to keep on the simplicity side of things. Yeah.
Okay.
If I may just jump in here, because we skipped over a slide and I noticed that the idea is to taper. This was actually recommended for future steps that what we might implement later on, but we really focused on the near-sighted future and what we could do easily based on. But as you can see, that is actually one of our recommendations for later on. Yeah.
Good question.
Pour le booking en ligne,
Oui.
c'est d'avoir des interventions en ligne, un genre de FaceTime, ou c'est vraiment pour booker en store après?
Exactement. So c'est vraiment in store. From the case we saw that Sur Mesure really focuses on retail as well. So you had 14 locations listed. We really think that this really offers a different touch, as well as if you look at your target consumer market, you have 56% of your market that is coming from business professionals, as well as high income of 33%. So customers who have more than $100,000 worth of income a year. We really think that that type of clientele also really enjoys the retail experience, reinventing the retail experience, the human touch, as we like to say. And so those bookings would be done in person, but like we said, later on we could add on business intelligence, what we think would be recommended.
Et juste pour clarifier, le onboarding survey, c'est sur le site web, mais aussi en boutique.
Oui.
Oui, donc.
C'est exactement ça. Donc, sur le site web, c'est vraiment avoir l'opportunité de dire, moi, j'aime la couleur bleue, je veux un suit avec des pantalons noirs ou peu importe. Donc, vraiment créer cette idée de customizing, de vraiment faire ça one-on-one personnel, non seulement en boutique, mais aussi sur l'écran. Quand on rentre en boutique, tout de suite, le salesman va me demander, est-ce que vous aimez la couleur bleue, est-ce que vous voulez une cravate d'une certaine couleur, mais malheureusement, sur un ordinateur, on n'a pas cette expérience-là. Donc, dès qu'on crée notre profil client, c'est vraiment s'assurer que les bonnes questions sont posées tout de suite. Donc, toute l'information nécessaire, tous les produits ou les suits qui peuvent être à l'intérêt au client peut être proposé à l'avant tout de suite.
Puis comment se fait le lien avec la proposition ou l'automatisation de ces produits-là? Parce que là, dans le fond, vous expliquez comment accumuler les réponses. Puis après ça, quel outil on utilise pour proposer les...
Ouais. Donc, dans notre recommandation, en fait, on a parlé d'utiliser Typeform, MailChimp et Studio. Donc, en Store, vous avez aussi les écrans tactiles qu'on a vu. Donc, ça serait une autre touchpoint où on pourrait avoir les formulaires comme ça, set up déjà. Et l'information, dépendant si c'est accumulé dans Studio et Typeform en utilisant les surveys, mais de ce qu'on a compris de votre système informatique, c'est que l'information est déjà collectée dans Studio. Par la suite, vous êtes en train de l'exporter à MailChimp pour utiliser les email integrations that you have on MailChimp, right? So that was the underlying assumption in terms of like flow of information.
OK.
Faut-tu changer le setup des boutiques si on fait du off-the-rack avec votre concept de sustainability?
Ouais, alors il y avait une slide ici, c'est ce qu'on voulait un peu parler dessus, mais c'est un peu en dehors du scope de notre recommandation. Un truc, c'est d'aller sur des campus universitaires et de dire, OK, on a des suites pour vous vendre, et c'est un prix 50% moins cher. Ça peut être un truc add-on, mais après aussi, we're gonna incur, genre de payer extra salaire pour avoir des gens qui vont là-bas. Mais dans la boutique, tu peux avoir une petite section, et ça prend pas beaucoup de place énormément non plus, d'avoir des trucs en stock. Voilà. Et aussi, prendre l'inventaire de ces suites, et aussi de les avoir en ligne. Donc on va aussi voir en ligne que, ah tiens, il y a ce suite, ce modèle-là, ça fait 3 ans qu'on ne les vend plus, mais sauf que là, c'est retourné par un client et peut le vendre 50% moins cher.
La période des questions est terminée.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.